Hello everyone, it's Clay Ramage. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to walk through silverware, flatware, servingware, whatever you want to call it. And I know I've had several requests for people to show videos of after I've polished up the silver. So what I thought I'd do, some of you may remember a couple weeks ago I picked up that large lot of silverware from the bins, highly ornate, beautiful stuff. So I picked that up, I've polished it, and I've included some other pieces in here as well. And we're going to kind of talk about the different types of servingware and stuff like that. So let's go. So I have this laid out on the counter for you guys, and I have a little reference book here. And let's just start with spoons. Let me see if I can adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. There's obviously, you guys look at this one and you're going to say, oh, that's a ladle. Yep, that's a ladle. But did you know there's different kinds of ladles, not just for serving gravy. This would be a gravy ladle, as it's fairly large. It's, close to 3 inches wide. But there's also what's called a cream ladle, and that's a smaller one. It'd be about that big, which I have one, but I couldn't find it. But anyway, that's my personal one. So there's 2 different sizes of ladles. So keep that in mind when you find one. They're not just all gravy. Some could be for cream officially. This is obviously a pie server. It's not really a spoon. It's a pie server. It's got the holes. Very beautiful, nice ornate one. This long spoon it's very straight. See how straight it is? It's not curved like this one. It's got a nice curve to it. This one is a straight spoon. And that's part of the reason I got this book, because in here I will show you, this is actually called like this one here. It's a different style or design, but it's a jelly spoon. So in this particular one, it's a Yale is the brand, or the style. But yes, so this would be for dishing out jelly. It'd be a lot of jelly, wouldn't it? But yeah, and then there's these serving spoons. Some of them could be called salad spoons if there's a matching fork to them of similar size. But in this particular case, they are, serving spoons. Now the other little bit of tidbit information, if you want, see these little marks on here? Sometimes those can be just normal wear and pitting, but sometimes there's because people will take a drop of acid to see if it's sterling silver. Because what it does then is it eats through the top layer of the silver when it's silver plated, and it'll leave that little mark. And it drives me nuts because you can't polish them out, and it ruins the spoon. An otherwise beautiful spoon in great condition, and you've got these stupid marks. So anyway, so don't do that. And if you're gonna do it on the back where it doesn't show. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So again, here's another same type of serving spoon, fairly large. Some can be called berry spoons, although they're not quite this big, so like if you had a big bowl of berries, you could scoop it out. So, and these may be berry spoons depending upon. This one is this is how you can tell it's been a well-loved spoon, because actually it would be longer. This has been worn down from years and years of use. You can also see it's very pitted. It's very actually rough to the touch. And the finish is pretty much gone as far as the silver plating goes. And you can see here, see that mark? That tells you that it's plated as well, because that's the base metal shining through and a little bit of the silver plate still on top. So this one I didn't heavily polish just because it's, doesn't have much use except for maybe a nice art project. And then there was this spoon with the little tines on it. We'd call it a spork today. This one you can tell has a very ornate little design on the inside. This is what's called a gold wash too. So it's a silver plate spoon. So it's a base metal, then they plate it in silver, and then you do a gold wash, kind of a quick dip in a gold, but just the tip of it. So from I believe originally it would have started probably back here, or maybe it was just the bowl. It's hard to tell because it's all pretty well worn off. And you can tell even the base metal is worn off. This spoon was well used and loved. So yeah, so that's kind of the different types of spoons. And you say, why is it like a spork? Well, sometimes, and I don't believe that one was, but sometimes they were what's called a, there, I'll leave that one open, a ice cream fork. But they are usually a little shorter tongs. And I just had it. What did I do with it? Oh dear, sorry. Sorry for the delay in Clay's finding things. I just had the page and now it's gone. Oh, there it is. That one right there is an ice cream fork. Look at that. The rounded tongs, small fork. And speaking of forks, let's hop over to the forks. So I have a few forks for you on display here. Now these top two, these two are actually brass. They look gold, but they're a brass fork. And I used silver polish on them, but you can tell they didn't polish very well. But had I used brass polish, they would be much shinier. So it does make a difference on what kind of polish you use. And obviously one's smaller than the other. This is the salad fork for eating your salad. This is your main meal fork. Both of these are of the same brand, so they would have came from the set. And they're Diralyte, I think, Dirilyte. So, and this is a collectible style of spoon. So those are worth probably $10 on eBay, 10 to 15 for the pair. Then there's this type of fork. It's a large serving fork, 3 tongs, flared at the edges. This would be called a fish fork. So it'll be for serving fish. And that's to keep, I assume, so that you've got a nice chunk of fish and it doesn't all flake apart by using a smaller fork, because it's nice and wide tongs so that it doesn't slip through. This one has a beautiful rose design on the end, which I really like that. This one is a very ornate spoon. I just picked this up at a local thrift store for $3, but I just love the ornateness of it. Now this would probably be called what's called a cold meat fork. So instead of serving like hot meat, and part of the reason I believe is because these tongs are not very sharp, and you can tell they're flared at the ends. So it's not for sticking into meat and pulling to yourself. It's for scooping under and keeping it on, which would be a typical of a cold meat, that you're not carving off of the plate. Now this particular fork has no markings on it, no hallmarks, no name, no nothing. So I have no idea, but it's a very ornate fork. And then there's the little condiment forks, olive forks, whatever you want to call them. These are 2 from that Goodwill bins find. So, and I believe one is sterling, and one I haven't been able to determine what it is. Yep, this one's the sterling one, and this one is stamped on the back, but it's stamped weird, so I'm not exactly sure what it means. Let's see if I can get it. There it goes. Got it upside down. So it's hard to read. I haven't tested it. I was going to test it to see if this is sterling silver or not. I do believe it is. It's just hard to tell. And here's a couple more of those small serving forks. I'll show you a page in the book in a minute. And this particular one is a silver handle. It says right here, it's hard to read, but it's 800, then a couple initials. And 800 is a standard of silver. It's 800 parts per 800 parts per 1,000, as opposed to 925, which is 925 parts per 1,000. So it's a little lower grade silver than sterling. And this is another small condiment fork. This one I did not polish the tines because that is silver plated. The handle is sterling silver. And it's very common because the sterling is a soft metal, and that's why many times you'll see it dented on different candlesticks or stuff like that, because it's a soft metal. So typically you won't you know, see the ends, especially if it's a heavy use item, it will be of either stainless steel or a silver plated material, so that it bears up well and doesn't bend very easily. Whereas if it was solid sterling, it will, you know, have a tendency to bend fairly easily. But yeah, so I love this design on this. It's a beautiful, beautiful design. All right, and here's a page on forks. Different types of forks. Now, here's some smaller ones. They call it an oyster fork, you know, a two-tine, or a pickle fork, or I think the shorter tines are more for olives. And there's a large asparagus fork, which is another one that they made. The Victorians loved their utensils. Okay, so here, and we got a couple others. Double tines, smaller fruit fork. So could be a little fruit fork we have here as opposed to an olive fork that I've been calling it. And then there is another one. Oh, here. Here's an example of the fish fork, the three tine. And then I know we've had this discussion when I found a fork similar to this, where it has a large tine on it and then smaller ones. It is actually a fish fork, as identified in this book. And then here's an example of a salad fork that would go with a salad spoon. Typically those are going to be narrower bowled spoons, not a deep bowl like what I have here. But you can see it's a multi-tined fork as well. So, and it'll be nice and wide. Yep, and that's the spoons. And speaking, before we get to spoons, we're going to do knives. Because I did find some knives. Let me scoot some of the spoons out of the way here. So I did find some knives. Let's skip over to the knives. Sorry for the TV remote control. It's our kitchen counter. So in that lot that I got from the bins, you can see there's different... Oh, didn't mean to turn the TV on. And I did. There we go. Oh, I did it again. Turn it off. So these smaller knives, that's what they're called, are called fruit knives. So they're for cutting up your fruit. And while many times they look the same, look at this particular one. If you look in here, you've got two little OGs, you know, or half round areas. This one only has one. So it's a different style. Even though they look the same, they are different. And these are marked on here that are Rogers warranted. Warranted would mean silver plated. If it says warranted, that means silver plated. It's warranted because they guarantee that the silver plating won't wear off. That's basically what that means. Now these are marked coin silver triple plate. So coin silver is basically they're using the same, they don't melt down coins per se, although sometimes they would, but coin silver is the same metal composition as what they make silver coins out of, or made silver coins. And again, it has a higher alloy content so that it's more durable than just plain sterling silver. So if it says coin silver, you know it's still silver, it's just not, you know, it's like the 800 mark. And I do believe it was like about 800 is what it was. This particular fork, this is an etched fork. Listen to me, knife. This is a etched design on here. So in other words, they actually use acid to etch out these negative spaces on here. And this one is a Meridian & Company marked on the blade. And you can see it's actually a two-sided knife. There's this side and this side. I'm amazed at how sharp these are for as old as they are. So you could use either side for cutting. And I left this one this way. See, he's rusty. And I washed all these after I polished them. And the reason he rusted is because the actual silver is gone from these areas. So it rusted because I didn't dry it. So this is a lesson. If you have silver plated items, to make sure you dry them right away. Otherwise, this can happen if the plating has worn off. They can actually rust. So I left this one this way just to show you guys. So yeah, that's a fun thing. And of course, many of you are familiar with the butter knife. Again, nice little butter knife here. And again, it's got those little spots, which I don't know why you would test a knife on the end if you're checking to see if it's sterling silver. But anyway, that's what people do. This was another Rogers. Rogers, you'll find Rogers a lot of silverware. Has lots and lots. All right, spoons, the smaller spoons. In that bag, I'll move the camera over a little bit, was a set of 5. These are actually marked 830 on the back, which is another silver standard with that little scale symbol. I don't know who that represents as far as manufacturer, but these are silver with a gold overlay or plating or wash, whatever you want to call it. So that's why they're a goldish tone, because they actually had a gold wash put over the top. So there were 5 of those. I wish there were 6, but there were only 5. And they're a very small spoon. And then there's these teaspoons that I got. I love this design. This is my favorite design out of all of them I got. And it's of a company, I don't know if it'll show up. It's a company I'd never heard of before. Cereta, Cereta. But very nice quality spoons, nice weight, beautiful design, wonderful plating. So there were 5 of those as well. Probably why they got rid of them. Now this would be a sugar spoon because it's wider and a little deeper bowl. That's what makes a sugar spoon. If you get a set of different silverware, that's what you'll find. And it's, it's not the large serving spoon. This was another wonderful set. And this one has 6 of them. This wonderful set of spoons. Marked on the back. And yeah, just nice teaspoons as we would call them today. Now this one's interesting. I'm going to compare to another. See the difference? They've both been polished, but this one is has a goldish tone to it. But it's not a gold plating or gold wash as opposed to the really bright silver. It's because this one is called nickel silver. It even says it on the back. Nickel silver. And that means it contains more nickel in it. And nickel tends to be more of a goldish tone in the silver family. And so, yeah, that's that one. And I'm going to pause just for a minute. Okay, folks, we're back now. Sorry, I had a little interruption. Just got done explaining the nickel silver. And then these smaller spoons, some of them are collector spoons, but if they're just smaller spoons like this that match the set that you have, you're like, what do I do this small spoon? These are actually called coffee spoons. They're for, putting sugar and stirring your coffee or creamer. That's why they're smaller, so they can fit in your coffee cup very easily. I love the design on this one. This one is actually a sterling silver one. It says sterling plate on it, which I think is interesting, but anyway. And then there's this beautiful ornate spoon. These would have come in pairs. And I thought that it might match one of these other tonged forks, which is what it would have come with, but it doesn't, so. But yeah, so let me show you from the catalog real quick here. See right here, this is called a coffee spoon. There's another coffee spoon, as opposed to the teaspoons, which are these guys, the larger ones, or even like this one. So yeah, so that's good. And then I have some souvenir. Well, let me do this other one before I get into the souvenir spoons. And this one, many of you will know, it's got the serrated edges. That's called the grapefruit spoon. So you can, it digs into the grapefruit easier and tears it out. This is our personal one. But yeah, so that's another kind of spoon. And then there's the souvenir spoons, come in many different sizes. This was in that bag that I got at the bins. This is a Adams spoon. It's got the, isn't it? Yeah, James Madison rather. James Madison spoon. It's got his picture on there. It's got his, many times it'll have their state or their house. What is this? America for Americans. Monroe Doctrine. Okay, that's just shows us Monroe Doctrine on there. So that's a nice spoon. Again, it's a Rogers and Company. Then there's another small called coffee spoon. That's just a plain one. Oh, this one. Again, a small coffee spoon, but you can see this one's monogrammed. This is NAL, Northwest Airlines. So these are collectible. So if you, oops. If you can find, you know, certain things like trains, if you find Amtrak, that type, those are collectible. Northwest Airlines is collectible. You know, these different, when they used to serve nice meals on airlines and stuff like that. This is an interesting spoon. It says Japan in the little field up here. You know, it's like a crest. And it says Japan across that. So it's made in Japan. So is it a Japanese souvenir spoon? I'm not really sure, because then in the bowl of the spoon, it's Estonia is etched in there. So I'm not sure. Is it Esteban? Sorry, Esteban is etched in there. So it's kind of like a baby spoon. So I'm not exactly sure what that one was all about. And then there's this copper Cheyenne, Wyoming spoon. I used silver polish on it. Again, just to kind of show, it did polish up some, but you can still see some imperfections in the bowl that if using a copper or brass polish would get those out as well. It's just a different chemical combination in the polish that helps remove some of that. And it might not necessarily remove all of it, but it would definitely look a whole lot better. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little tour of silver plated and sterling silver stuff. I thought I'd give you a couple more pages in this book, which are just awesome. Here's one of all the, and these are all sterling silver spoons. This is a serving set. And I love some of these. You know, there's the meat fork. There's the ice cream knife. So you got a large chunk of ice cream, you can cut it with a knife. There's the ice cream spoon. And there's the sugar sifter. So sometimes spoons with holes are for sifting sugar. And again, they will be more of a bowl as opposed to a flatter surface. So a lot of times we think those are, you know, for serving vegetables to drain the liquid out. Not necessarily. They could be a silver spoon. Let me back this up a little more. Salad fork with the salad spoon. These two go together. And this is the berry spoon. So yeah, but I just love this book. It's got such great illustrations on this. This is the ice cream spoon again. The soup ladle. We talked about ladles earlier. Here's some more ladles. Oyster ladle, okay, because you're boiling your oysters. There's the gravy ladle. So yeah, just an amazing array of different things. And I had a spoon similar to this one a while back. Well, probably close to a year now that I found at the bins. I was like, I've never seen a spoon like this. And we kind of debated what it is. It's actually a cheese spoon, which I didn't realize, which is really cool. I learned from this catalog, which is awesome. So yeah, so that's, and this catalog is, I love this catalog. It's got cut glass in here, you know, all sorts of it. Plus, all right, I'll flip to the back here because you guys will get a kick out of some of these fashions from 1896. And they say these fashions were actually designed by costume designers, like theatrical designers, which I think is hilarious. They're beautiful. Take you a while to dress up in some of these. So yeah, so we'll finish out our silver video with some fashion designs. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.